in place to keep us in chains. By show of hands, who else is sick and tired of the same? 1% trying to keep us small, trying to keep us from getting out. Minimizing the struggles they've caused, saying we're not working hard enough.
We really should stop this fighting. Otherwise, we'll miss the fireworks.
There won't be any fireworks.
And here we go.
And welcome everybody to Suck It. I am the great and powerful King of Kings, Prince of all that is awesome, and the most hated man in the flat earth world, Derek. How are you today? Please come hate on me some more. I absolutely love it. Because you post an opinion, it makes me bigger. Thank you very much for being here and enjoying my content, as lots of other people do, for doing what I do best, talking mental health, being comedic, and entertaining. So thank you very much for being here on this, whatever day it is. Let's just say Monday, because I'm not sure what day this is going to air. So let's just say a Monday. Guys, things have been crazy this past week, as I'm sure you guys have seen. The posts all over the internet and Instagram and Facebook and Twitter have been absolutely absurd. But you know what? I'm still smiling, I'm still laughing, and you can't break me. And that is the whole point of this show, as many people have so kindly pointed out, and I truly appreciate those comments as well. So thank you very much for all the real supporters of this show, the 50-some thousand of you guys that download this podcast a near million times a month. So thank you. But we're not here to talk about my troubles and strife. We're here to talk about fun stuff and entertaining stuff and comedic stuff, but also get down to the bare bones minimum, again, focusing on mental health. Because my guest today is a mental health survivor, an abuse survivor, and a lot of different things that she has done in her life, but she's turned it around, become an author, and a spokesperson for a lot of different things. And she's just an amazing woman that I'm very, very proud to have on the show with us today. So please give a warm welcome and welcome to the show, Miss Sheree Martinez.
Morning, Derek.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing great.
I'm glad to hear that. At least one of us is.
Just forget about those flat earthers.
They've become my new number one target in life, so it's all good. I'm just going to sit here and sip my coffee.
Any kind of response is better than none.
Oh, absolutely.
And I'm sure you probably got a lot of supporters who are coming back, giving it back to them.
Yep. Yeah, and like I was telling you in the pre conversation before we went on the air, it's not even about the comments coming back at me. I could care less. I really could. It doesn't bother me at all. But again, the whole point of this channel, being a mental health channel and mental health podcast that talks comedy and entertainment and music and everything else in between, obviously they didn't do their research on me before they decided to attack me, because they're not only attacking, me, they're attacking my suicide survivors that have come on the show, the mental health, advocates that have come on the show, the LGBTQ community that has come on the show. They're not just attacking that episode, they're attacking me and my audience. And that's what's upsetting. It's my audience, because my, how many suicide survivors that I've talked to on the show, and audience members that have emailed me and said, thank you very much for talking me off of a ledge. And now they're coming after them as well. And it's sad that people are so, ingrained in their beliefs like this, that they're gonna attack them. I haven't attacked or said anything negative to them at all. And I could have. I could have been completely worse. But that's what's really, bothersome about it is, especially in today's day and age, over the past year, we're coming up on 1 year, in about 1 month from now, that we've been having these issues in this country, as far as, the pandemic and out of work jobs and, the BLM stuff and all this stuff. And right now we're at a height as far as suicide in this country that have never been seen before. Mental illness has, spiked in ways that it's never done before. And yet we still have, assholes like this in this country that love to just completely berate and down people just because they don't share the same beliefs. It's no different than Antifa or QAnon or the Republicans versus the Democrats or vice versa. It's sad that we're still infighting with each other when we should be helping each other. And that's what really is coming down to.
Right, I agree. I would say though, that episode might have been a little bit more about mental health than you realize.
Oh, I know it was, and that was the whole idea. The whole idea, and I'll say this. I've said this in my response video, but the whole idea was, whether I said it in the video or not, it was to show that even though this person's coming out here saying this stuff is real, and other people are coming out saying that this stuff is real, you don't know what you need to believe. You need to do your own research. And, because whether it's the government telling us this or, NASA telling this or your church saying this, we need to find our own answers for ourselves. And that was the whole idea behind the episode. And people didn't recognize that. And that's fine. But my audience did. And because it was strictly about a mental health thing, and they just didn't get it.
Yeah. All the conspiracies is just, Marjorie Taylor Greene, but even before that,
she's my favorite person on the planet right now.
Who?
Marjorie Taylor Greene. She is my absolute favorite person ever. Because thankfully she's just a congressman or congressperson and doesn't have that much power, but she has become my favorite person on the face of the earth. I also do a news show every morning live at 9 a.m. where I do comedy news, that's just my version of the news. And she's become like the center of attention on my news show because she just comes out with the most absurd stuff ever. And like I said, luckily she doesn't have much power, especially since her committee powers were stripped away from her. So, the things that she says isn't really that damaging because even Republicans make fun of her. So I just find her the most hilarious person on the face of the planet right now. And I just love watching the things that she says.
A lot of fodder to work with.
So much. Just the Jewish, lasers in space that started the California fires. That was my favorite one right there.
I think that was mine too. It's like, you have to question. I mean, the people who, they believe these things, and where are they getting their information? Where do these conspiracies start?
Exactly. And that was another point of the conversation that I had with them on Monday. And it even goes further into QAnon and, Antifa and stuff like this. Where do they get their information? And yet they turn around and hold firm to these beliefs that maybe one or two people are teaching them. Or maybe many people are teaching them, but now they hold true to the beliefs, and then they turn around that call people that don't believe in what they're saying sheep, but in the same time, sheep. They're sheep.
Oh, lemmings, going over the cliff.
But either way, they're doing the exact same thing, and they're sheeple too. It's just like how can you sit there and say the same thing that you're? It doesn't make any sense, and that's again at the heart of mental illness and mental well-being and all this other stuff. That's part of the problem. Whether it's a religious text, whether it's a political text, whether it's a scientific text, there's so much rhetoric out there that you don't know what to believe, and it drives people crazy. And it's sad of the stuff that we're having to deal with in this country today, especially people that deal with mental illness that are trying to get better, but have no resources because there's so much crap in the world.
Oh, amen. I have a lot of thoughts on that. But where do they get their information? Oh, and what you just mentioned, Derek, about mental health in this time, we are seeing, a lot of mental health issues that I believe have been spurred. Well, no, I don't. I believe they are spurred by, what's going on and some of the impact of the pandemic. I mean, the isolation, not being able to do a lot of things you love. And, people, it has an impact, being out of work. Not one of the things that really upsets me is people who don't know where their next meal is coming from, and people who are used to having a very comfortable life now deprived of a job. They're dealing with that loss, and their whole lives have been changed, and it has a major impact on mental health. I think
It
you
really, it
needed,
really does. I muted
yeah.
myself. And that's, and again, and people don't recognize that. I mean, what one of my biggest pet peeves over this past year has been with everything that has been going on, whether again Black Lives Matter, the pandemic, and then while that was all going on, some LGBTQ stuff came out. I mean, there was just so much to
Right.
deal with, and suicide rates going through the roof, and divorce rates going through the roof, and the government just sitting there pointing fingers at the red or the blue, depending on what side they're on.
Yeah.
And that's all they cared about is who's right and who's wrong. And they weren't sitting there focusing on the fixture, the being able to fix this country and its citizens. They seem to forget that they work for us. They're supposed to be there for us, but in reality, all they're doing, again, this is red and blue at this point, all they're doing
Right.
is sitting there worrying about what's best for their party, and they've
Right. Well,
forgotten about us.
not even their party at times. They're worried about them and, maintaining or seeming to um, believe in certain things. But I believe they're only saying that because they're looking at their political futures. So, you know, and it is you. It's on both sides of the coin. I
Absolutely.
mean, yeah, and I'm on Facebook, and I have barely been able to you know go on it because of a- all the things, the anger and the holier than thou, and I'm right, and you people are all wrong, and you're I read something yesterday, um a or I can't remember exactly what, but
Libtard.
very
Libtard.
I read libtard. Thank you. Um, there's so much. There's divisiveness in the country, which you hear about, but you know, huh, it just and people on both sides are guilty. And one thing that really bothers me is the generalization and the stereotyping. When they write, they cast everybody into a group. um they generalize, and you people, um you members of the radical left or members of the radical right, and you're ignorant because you believe something. And all beliefs are subjective.
They
So
are.
and I wonder often, Derek, you know is there such a thing as objective truth? Because people are conditioned throughout their life. Their perspectives are developed, and their belief system is developed, and that influences how they perceive everything. So
Well,
that you're seeing a lot of that. And I try not to get in the fray, but every now and then, I will say something about what, not disagreeing with them so much, but sort of pointing out, that you can't lump everybody in
correct.
the same basket. And that's what's happening on both sides. And, it's like a circus. And so,
So
there you have it.
I was actually thinking about that yesterday, the objective truth thing, and I came up with a couple examples that and I came up with these yesterday that kind of fit that narrative.
Right. Let me
So
hear it.
here's where it comes in. So we can say without a shadow of a doubt, fact, right, that the grass is green, right?
Exactly.
Grass is green, right? Not if we walk outside
Well,
today,
that's,
it's brown, it's dead because it's
yeah, I was going to
wintertime.
say, yeah.
But then at the same time, there's also bluegrass. And there's also, you can also paint the grass different colors. So is Is grass green? No. So it's like it's objective. I mean, one day it could be, but the next day it couldn't be. So to say definitively grass is green is impossible. Just like the sky is blue.
Right.
Sometimes it's purple or orange or
Or
red
gray.
or gray. You know, so again, it's the truth is there, and on that moment that you're looking at it, it could be, but then 10 minutes later, it could be something completely different. You know,
Exactly.
and that's where it kind of comes into play because, especially with like scientific beliefs, that's why there are no scientific facts. They're all theories, and that's the highest level of belief that anything can have is a theory. Because again, it's constantly evolving and the truth is constantly evolving and we're discovering more things, and while the whole basis of the theory might be fact, there might be more additional things that we're learning on top of it that prove it or disprove it or change it slightly, and that's the whole idea behind it, whether that's space, whether that's our brains, whether that's water, whether that's nature, whatever the case might be. That is the whole basis of it all, you know. And I love that about life, that you can only say with 100%, you can never say with 100% certainty anything is fact. It's always 99% or 99.9% because it's always evolving and always growing.
Yeah,
And
this
it's
was
a
gonna
it's a
say the
thirst for knowledge. If you don't have that thirst for knowledge, then you're just going to sit stagnant. And that's
exactly. I talk about that a lot. Do we settle into a comfortable apathy, which results in failure to open yourself up to other perspectives and other ideas about what's going on. What you're talking about especially when you brought up the grass, reminds me of a book I read. You may know it, Stranger in a Strange Land by Robert Heinlein. And in it, the people, um, they only say what they can exactly see at that present moment. Like you said, the grass is green. They would say, in this area, the grass is green. They would not, assume anything like the barn is brown or but it had to be something within their immediate sight, without assumption. And it was a really interesting book. I read it 25 years ago, probably, but it does deal with that. And um, you know, I I try to keep that in mind as I hear people talk or I read things that um, you know spur me to rethink my beliefs. And but a lot of people, they are so conditioned by what they were raised to believe, their perspectives and interpretations of their experiences. So uh, everything is subjective, I believe.
very much so. So we've got almost 20 minutes now, and we haven't really introduced who you are, other than my quick little, description at the very beginning there. So why don't you tell everybody who you are, what you've done, and what you do right now?
I appreciate the way you phrased that question because often people really only want to hear your resume, which I have a resume, but who I am. And I I'm a very free spirited person. I'm mostly joyful. I'm ready for new experiences. My life and my strength have really been tempered by the experiences I've had and how I've responded and, grown through those. Writing is a vital part of my life. I've been writing since I was in third grade, I believe, and I think that probably defines me more than anything. In my career, I wrote for some major organizations, But my true love was essays and poetry and those kind of things. Scribbles on a page sometimes a random thought, but those are some of the things. I love whitewater rafting. I love camping. I love sledding with the little kids next door. And, I've really tried to open myself up to so that I'm not static. As far as what I've done, I spent almost 30 years in public relations and I wrote extensively for organizations like the Red Cross, Goodwill Industries, and NPR. I was a commentator for NPR, wrote a lot for those. I just published my first book, Rude Awakening. Is sort of a departure from a lot of my um, subjects I've normally written on, but it was a lot of fun. It's a true crime thriller based on um, a crime in Knoxville, Tennessee that really interested media across the country. I was very intrigued by the story. I had seen it on a couple of crime shows. I did a little research on it. I felt like there was a real story there. And I contacted the guy. He survived an attempted murder. I contacted him and I said, I think it would make a good book. And if you're interested, let me know. I'd like to talk to you about it. You know, 10 minutes later, I got an email back from him saying, yes, he was interested. And could I call him so we could talk? Um, that was on a Wednesday. Friday, I was on a plane to Knoxville and spent the weekend, learning more and more. And, we decided to partner to, to write his story. So that was a great experience. It took about 7 years, but it came out last December, right before the pandemic hit, which made it really sort of hampered some of our promotional events. We had, book signings, presentations, a lot of things lined up. And of course, with social distancing, the pandemic, those, weren't able to happen. Now with the Zoom, more people becoming familiar with Zoom, we have resumed, some promotion. But my main focus right now, Derek, is on a new book I'm writing. I actually started it a number of years ago, put it aside during the writing of Rude Awakening, but I am very focused on it now. It deals with my survival of child abuse, emotional and physical, um, the impact grief, a major devastating grief had on my life, and bipolar disorder. Um, and I went through a very long period knowing something was wrong with me, but not knowing what. I was able to have a successful career for many years, but bipolar exacerbates as you get older. And, I began to notice, a major impact. I was very successful in my career, but I started to know little by little, I was losing my ability to focus, and I began to have relationship problems, and it eventually cost me my career, and I still didn't know what was wrong with me. But anyway, not to get too far into that, I also am a poet, a prolific poet, and I'm also at this time compiling an anthology of my work. I was on a podcast last week, and it was the first time I ever discussed my poetry or actually read it in public, and it felt good. but a lot of my poetry deals with the darkness of my mental disorder and my struggle to overcome child abuse. So I'm doing great now, though. So that's sort of a summary of things that have made up my life.
Um, wow. First and foremost, wow. But thank you very much for answering it the way you did, because when I ask that question, usually do people go into their resume right away? And when I can, we could talk about your resume all day long, but that's not why you're here. We're here. My show is about the backstory. I want to know the story. I want to be the megaphone for that story. And I'm glad you phrased the whole thing the way you did, because that's exactly what I wanted, and that's exactly what we're here to talk about. Um, and I love there's a lot of parallels between you and I. Thankfully, I mean, I don't want to say thankfully. I don't mean to word it like that, but I'm not
I know what
a I'm
you're
not a,
saying
yeah,
already.
I'm not a victim of child abuse like you were. However, I do suffer from bipolar disorder as well. I
I
also
knew you
suffer from
did.
generalized anxiety disorder and PTSD. So
Okay.
there's a lot of parallels there. And when you say you get older, it progresses and it gets worse, you are 1,015 100 million% right.
Yeah.
Even though it's not a real number, you get my point. Because that's
Absolutely.
right. Because I mean, for years and years and years and years and years, I always knew that there was something wrong, but I denied it. And anytime anyone else called it
Oh,
out to me, I denied it as well. Especially my soon-to-be ex-wife. She told me for years, Derek, there's something wrong with you, babe. Get yourself checked. And I denied it. Was having constant fits of rage. Never abusive rage, but mentally, and verbally abusive, because I would just get angry all the time. Thankfully, it
I
was
had self-destructive
Oh, it's
rage.
very, very self-destructive rage.
Right.
Thankfully, it wasn't physically abusive rage, but it could be just on the same level because of how bad it was. But again, I refused to acknowledge it, and it wasn't until 2 years ago, so I was 37 at the time, that I finally broke down and just had enough with it. It was a series of events between my job at the time, my dad had a stroke, and just all this other life stress around me, that I had a mental breakdown and I broke
Yeah,
hard.
trauma, going through trauma like that also exacerbates it and can trigger, episodes.
Yeah.
So I understand what you're saying.
So yeah,
I did a good job. I was really good at hiding it, especially early on. Um, you know, I was having, I was always diagnosed as clinically depressed. Um, but that's not what was wrong with me. But I didn't notice the manic part of my disorder. Actually, manic can be very euphoric, as you probably know. Um, but I did go through periods of depression, but I became very good at hiding it, in my career, to my friends. So I knew something was wrong, but um, it's sadness.
yeah, I actually look forward to my manic days, because that's when I get the most.
Oh,
That's when I get the most
oh,
done. Um,
oh, yeah, yeah. Until about 5 days into it,
yeah,
and then your mind starts going at Mach 1, and you begin to lose your ability to really focus. You're very frenetic, and for me, that was um, the most dangerous time for me. A lot of people think depression is, and it is for many people,
yeah.
but for me, the mania um, really incited some very self-destructive behavior. But you seem to be doing great. I mean,
I
I
do.
listened to some of your discussion on some of the challenges you went through, um, and beginning to learn about it and beginning to be treated by it, and some of your reactions to medication. So I understand. You sort of know the challenge.
I
You
do,
know,
but
yeah,
this show is my cathartic outlet daily.
and it's great. It's
It,
so great.
it really
You're
is
offering a
because
voice.
I do. I try to offer that voice, but at the same time, and I've said this before. The show, while it's meant to help other people,
Exactly.
and but at the same time, it's selfishly helping me, because being
And
able
you're
to
doing a service too.
well, that's the thing. So being able to help people helps me deal with my issues on a daily basis. So it's selfish, but it's selfless at the same time. Because
It
again,
is. It
so
is.
it's a little bit of both. But I truly enjoy being able to come on here every day and just talk to people. Now, lately, it's been a lot of mental health stuff like this. However, prior to that, it was a lot of music and a lot of comedy and a lot of other things as well, with mental health tied in as here and there. Because
Mhm.
I didn't want it to become monotonous, and overwhelming.
Down.
Yeah, constant mental health, constant mental health, constant mental health. But at the same time, I was like, you know what? I've lost a lot of focus, so let me refocus my energy. So this last couple weeks, I've been doing a lot of mental health, and I've done one musician in there, and I'm getting ready to do a couple now tonight and tomorrow. So it's like, okay, I'm getting back into the music stuff again. So now I get to have a balance. And I was able to talk
Exactly.
about my issues and talk about this with people who understand better than anybody else. So I was able to release some of that and help other people. Now I'm going to go back to the music stuff, but then at the same time, I'm also going to incorporate a lot of this as well. And then I even come across a couple comedians today that are just like me, that are comedians that joke about mental health. So I'm like, okay, I got to have them on the show. Now I get the best of both worlds. And I'm being more eclectic with it. So it's better for my mental health, but at the same time, it's better for my audience's mental health because they're not hearing the exact same thing every day, just from
And it's
different
not
people.
down and dark all the time.
Correct. So like tonight, I'm really looking forward to doing a live show with a band, because we're recording this on Wednesday, excuse me, and so I'm doing a live episode tonight with a band. So I'm like ecstatic about that. I can talk about music theory and
Yeah.
music and all that other stuff, which again is my secondary passion other than mental health.
Yeah.
So
Music is music is such a can be so moving, and also like a book or somebody, it's it captures emotions and things like that. I'm very involved in, well, I was before the pandemic, in the I guess regional music scene, and um it's I was going I used to at one point go out to see live music 4 or 5 times a week, and so I'm excited. I really want to listen to what types of music are you um
okay, so personally, I am a hardcore metal guy. I love metal. I love rock. That's what I am. However, I don't discriminate on the show. I mean, I've done rappers, hip hop people, pop artists, country music artists. I've done it all.
yeah.
However, because I can always talk to them about music in general. Even though I prefer 99% of the time to listen to metal, I still listen to other musics, and I research other musicians and things that people are doing and stuff like that. Therefore, I can stay in depth into the music world. Therefore, I could talk to anybody about it. So I don't discriminate in that front. However, I do have my blinders on when it comes to actually listening to music. Unless I'm having an artist come on, I'm going to listen to their music.
Yeah.
Obviously, because I want to be able to have an idea of who they are. And I've only had, in now 167, I don't even know how many episodes I've done now, 170 episodes, whatever it is. There's only been one artist that I've had on the show that I didn't like their music. But everybody else, even the rap and the hip hop, it's like, oh, damn, these people have skills. So I need to at least acknowledge that skill in this one person. I might not need to acknowledge the whole genre because I don't like the whole genre, but at
Yeah,
least
I know
this
what
one
you're talking about.
person and this person over here, they have the skills, and I'm going to make sure that they get their just desserts on this show.
Well, I found, I used to say, oh, I hate country, rainy dang country, and I don't like this. Um, but there have been certain things that are classified, whether it's hip hop, metal, classic rock, country. I have found songs in the different genres that I really like and that really speak to me. So I sort of understand what you're saying. But as a metalhead, do you know who Dora Pesh is?
I've heard the name, but I'm not 100% sure.
She's one of the top um, metal women, I should say. Fantastic. She's from Germany. Check her out, Dora Pesh. Um, she's 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 incredible. I never, I was living in Charlotte at the time, and most of her tours are national. I mean, not national, international. So I never thought I'd get the chance to see her, but I did. I couldn't believe she came to Charlotte, North Carolina, and she just blew me away. I mean, her show is electric, and I think you just don't see as many metalheads, female metalheads, and boy, she packs a punch.
Well,
So,
actually, I've done I've done a series on this show, surprisingly enough, on females in metal and females in rock, because right
right,
now, in my opinion, females are leading the charge in the rock industry. There are so many powerful, females right now, and I can name a bunch of bands. I don't know if you would know them, but I know my audience does. I mean, whether it's a band called the Butcher Babies, Hailstorm, In This Moment, Ginger. There's so many bands that have female front women that are leading the charge today, and I absolutely love it. And I've talked to a lot of them on the show too. And it's just so much fun to see the enthusiasm and seeing the stuff that they bring to the table.
the electricity.
Yeah, I mean, even people like Miley Cyrus, who's now kind of jumping over to the rock side of things. I mean, her latest album sounds like Joan Jett and the Blackhearts. I mean, it's that retro, but it sounds amazing. And also, right now, she's in the process of doing a Metallica's cover album, which,
Oh wow!
yeah, I was like, hell yeah, go Miley! I just became a Miley Cyrus fan. But
Yeah, I
like,
hear that.
I love the women in music because for so long, even still today, music is run by a bunch of misogynistic men that love to put down women and whatever else. But women, and women have been dealt the cruelest of hands in this country for such a long time. It's finally nice to see them leading the charge and making a stand for themselves in this
Yeah,
world that's been run
and
by
making
men
an
for so long.
impact on music. Yeah.
Well, not only on music, but little girls that
Oh yeah.
finally could say, "Oh, look, I have an idol now that I can actually look up to. That's not, somebody, like Cardi B talking about her wet ass pussy. It's like, come on, you know, but positive, female role models in the music industry,
Mm,
other than Taylor Swift and other than, Leanne Rhymes and stuff like that, the ones that are not in the rock genre that are positive influences as well. But like, you know, now we have them in the rock side too, and it's like, yeah,
yeah.
because the positive female electricity that can be, given off in this world is sometimes stronger than positive men electricity, and the quicker we realize that, the better off this country will be.
Yeah. I agree.
Um, but yeah, I mean, it's definitely music is cathartic for me.
Yeah.
I can't go a day without listening to something that um levels me out. I can't go a day without listening to music. I mean, even if I'm not in my car, I make sure I listen to an hour's worth of music every day. So, like, when I'm getting ready for shows, I always come down to my studio at least a half an hour early and just turn on my Echo Dot down there and just jam out to music while I'm prepping for the show. Um,
Seeing your studio, I bet you get some damn good sound.
well, this right here is a cartoon. It's just a green screen, but but
Oh,
but my studio doesn't look too far off from this. The way I have it designed though is I have my chair and my couch is up against a flat wall, so that doesn't look very appealing on camera. So that's why I do a green screen. But everything else around me in my gigantic basement, it looks a lot like that, just not cartooned.
Now, I see a guitar back on your green screen. Do you play?
I do.
I play at it.
I play guitar. I play
Yeah.
I play acoustic and an electric. I have like 5 different guitars that I play on the regular. I mean, I love. Again, I love music, and that has been my saving grace. Funny story. Not really funny, but funny in my head. If it wasn't for music, one particular song in particular, I would have committed suicide. So right after I got diagnosed and put on my first set of pills, I was put on Zoloft first.
I
Um,
heard you talking about that and your experience. Ooh.
yeah, it within a week I was suicidal as all hell, and on my wife's birthday, November 2nd of 2018, I was in my car driving back from getting a present for her, and I was on a major highway that has lots of cliffs and mountainous areas, and my whole goal was to drive as fast as I could through that intersection at a red light and hope that I caused enough damage and enough speed to where I could hurt myself enough to where I could fly over that cliff and just say peace out. However, there was a song that came on the radio at that moment. Call it divine intervention, call it coincidence, call it whatever you want. But at that moment, a song about anti-suicide came on the radio, and as soon as it did, I was like, "Oh, whoa!" It was like
Yeah.
it was a conscious wake up call of like, "What are you doing?" And
Someone was looking out for you when that song came
it
on.
very well is
Whatever it
possible.
was.
It was very, very, very well possible because the thing about it is, I've also I have a habit of talking shit about people who commit suicide.
Yeah, well,
You
well,
know,
get ready.
I really do, and sometimes it's detrimental to me, and people have called me out on it before. But those are my opinions, and that's how I feel. But again, in that moment, I was like, okay, so now I'm just gonna be a straight up hypocrite. So no, I'm not gonna do this. The song is that important to me. It was a song that I've heard 1,000 times before, but in that moment, became my saving grace, and I was just like, yep, can't do it.
It crawled into your soul and
Yeah,
you know saved you.
it is.
And music has that power.
Yeah,
It can
and
take you.
that band is actually now my number one list of like at the top of the list of number one people to talk to, because I just want to get the lead singer.
What's the band, Derek? I want to write it down.
Name of the band is Bad Flower. One word, Bad Flower.
Bad Flower.
One word, Bad Flower.
Okay,
And the name of the song is Ghost.
I'm gonna check it out. Yeah,
I just
talking
want to
about
have the lead singer on the show, and I could be a 5-minute interview. All I want to do is say thank you.
yeah,
His name is Josh, and that's it. I just want to be like, Josh, thank you.
saved my life.
Yeah.
You mentioned the Zoloft. There, a lot of people who have bipolar, it's not diagnosed, and antidepressants can really, cause those suicidal feelings. Just being on antidepressants can have a very negative effect on individuals with bipolar. So, between not knowing the impact of that Zoloft and having bipolar, I can understand how that happened.
Yeah.
And
I take
trust me.
Lexapro now.
Yeah,
Lexapro actually does work for me.
that's good.
I take
Is it a
Lexapro
combination
of Lexapro and
depressant?
Wellbutrin.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I do a
yeah.
combination of Lexapro and Wellbutrin, and for a long time I was on Xanax or Clonopin for my
Right.
anxiety. However, I stopped doing that. Now I use CBD and THC.
Yeah.
So I naturally treat that, and I haven't had a panic attack in I don't know how long
Right.
since I've started using THC and or just cannabis in general for my anxiety.
Yeah. Good old cannabis.
You know what? Cannabis,
I
in
said-
my opinion, is the greatest thing to ever become about for the medical, for the mental health, people.
Right.
And once people realize the effects and people stop downing it, and
Oh,
freaking pharmaceutical companies quit, putting ad campaigns out there downing it. And once people actually realize what it does, this country's going to be a lot better off because
well, one of I can't believe they haven't legalized it. And for some of the benefits of the country would get, it is the biggest cash crop in the country. And if they legalized it, it would create millions of jobs and $1 million of revenue. And it is, so many people have felt relief for anxiety and depression, by using it. I mean, my God, there's now medical marijuana, and for a lot of different conditions. My brother-in-law's on it, but I just don't understand why it is so maligned, and why the hell the country hasn't seen the economic impact, not to not looking at the
Yeah.
individual impact. I mean, they're missing a real opportunity. So
Especially look at Colorado. Colorado
yeah,
has had a tax surplus in that state ever since they legalized it.
right.
They're just rolling in the dough, and their crime has gone down. Their jails aren't as full anymore. I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on in Colorado that we can be proud of.
Right.
Here in Virginia, last year it was decriminalized. So it's like a $25 fine if you get caught with anything up to an ounce. And then
Yeah,
at the same time,
personally.
it was also approved for medicinal purposes. However, there's only like 2 dispensaries in the entire state, nothing near where I'm at. And so, like right now, there's an agreement between us and Maryland, who's also medicinal, to where if you have a Virginia card, you can travel to Maryland and get your stuff from Maryland. So that's
And
kind of
carry it
cool.
across the line.
So that's kind of cool. But now it just passed through our house, a bill to actually legalize it here in general, because our governor is like, we need to legalize it now. So hopefully by the end of this year, it should be completely legal. And right now there's plans to have it completely legal by 2024 with dispensaries and everything like that opening. I think it's a little too far away, but hey, one step
Yeah,
a step is closer is better than no step at all. So
right. Yeah,
I'm a
yeah,
huge advocate for that.
yeah. I agree. I mean, I don't know that I really advocate for it in a public venue, but
That's
I
okay.
just
I do.
thank you. You can do something for me. But no, I just don't understand the stigma of it, and why people, it gets so maligned, and but I just can't understand why they won't legalize it.
Because for
I
the
guess
longest time it's been a subject, a classification, or Title I, or whatever it's called, on the same level as crack and heroin on the federal offense board. I mean, it's like it's nowhere near that. No one has ever
no,
died from smoking weed.
right,
It's no different than alcohol, and yet people want to go ahead and but that's legal. It's just the country's so bass backwards when it comes to certain stuff like this, and it's just freaking ridiculous. It really is,
mhm,
because again, they're more worried about what's right for them in office and their own freaking pocketbooks, and
oh,
because
there's a lot of that.
all the dividends that they get paid out by Pfizer and GlaxoSmithKline and Moderna on these from these pharmaceutical companies that are paying and lobbying to keep shit like this
Yeah,
illegal, because then they're going to lose money, because they prescribe you one pill, and because you're taking that one pill, which is supposed to help you, actually makes you worse, and now you need to take this other pill to help offset some of that other pill, and then you need to take this. It's a constant battle, and I'm sick and tired of
right,
it, because there's so many people that are suffering like you or I that can't get the help, that some of us have been fortunate enough to get, and it's but they're too worried about, again, what's right for their party or what's right for
right.
themselves in order to help them.
and they're too rigid. They believe, oh, this is a horrible thing. I think a lot of the Christian contingencies, oh my God, what a sin. But I agree with
God
you. And
grew it. God made it naturally. How is it sin?
I tried to grow some once. I do not smoke, but I love the smell of it. My experience was that it did make me a little paranoid, but my husband enjoys it, and he's pretty mellow.
Yeah.
One thing I wanted to bring up because of several things you said, Derek, uh, the journey through finding the right medications. Oh, I have it was a nightmare for me. And like some of the things they put me on, um, they almost killed me.
Yeah.
It took 7 years, and the faces of the doctors just became a blur, um, trying to find the right combination of meds to work. I am a rapid cycling bipolar 1 with severe panic disorder and PTSD, as you mentioned. Um, and, you know, oh, I was seen by one of the leading specialists in the country, and he told me I was treatment resistant. But I had one doctor, and I've heard some of your comments on religion, but he told me, well, you need to pray. And it just pissed me off. I said, I didn't come to
Yep.
you for spiritual advice. And, when you're dealing with genetics and brain chemistry, you know, praying is not going to help. So it took a long time, and I had, many nightmares because of it. I mean, lithium, which is the gold standard for treatment of bipolar individuals, it really made me crazy. And like you were saying, one night, when I was on it, I wanted to run my car into a brick wall.
Yeah.
And I was poised for that. But somehow I ever hopeful, you know, I'm gonna get through this. I need to hang on. But yeah, the medications, I mean, they can definitely make things worse for you. I mean, I almost died because of two medications. I had serious side effects from a couple of the other ones. So, ooh, getting to that right combination so you can begin to manage your life better. It was a long and terrible process for me.
Yeah. My luckily for me, I'm bipolar too, so it was a little bit
Yeah.
easier for me.
You have the
I
depression and
Yeah,
you have hypomania.
correct. So within a year, I was pretty much squared away on my meds. Now, my
Mhm.
brother, on the other hand, is a rapid cycling, bipolar
Uh,
one as
yeah.
well, and it took him many, many years to get right. I mean, even now, he's still not 100% right, but
Right.
they checked him into mental facilities. Therefore, they can just kind of basically treat him like a guinea pig.
Yeah, I
Um,
felt like a guinea pig a lot.
yeah, I mean, but he was like living in these facilities in order to help him.
Well, I
Um,
was in and out of the hospital, and I
yeah,
I spent on a number of occasions. I spent a good bit of time in them, but in um, in my early 20s, well, my problems, I began to notice the first time I ever experienced depression was when I was 13. And um, it it was very ironic, but as I mentioned earlier, I did suffer. I was a victim. I'm no longer a victim, but I was a victim of um, such cruelty. But I had this when I was younger. I was this wide open, joyful child, and as much as he tried to, you know, destroy that spirit I had, I seemed to overcome it. Well, he died when I was 13, so for some reason that shiny girl was gone, and I began to take over of the abuse that he dealt out, and began to abuse myself. And he had convinced me I was worthless, I was no good, I was sick, and those things really swelled up in me. And uh, you know, it was a long course. I began hurting myself, I guess about 15, and I have had a quite a few suicide attempts, for which I have been hospitalized. Yeah, well, I was hospitalized for 2 months after one too many suicide attempts, and being in there for 2 months, they still did not diagnose my bipolar.
Yeah.
There was clinical depression. One doctor even told me, "Well, you're not manic depressive." Well, you know, 30 years later, I find out, I am bipolar. So,
Yeah.
and my rapid cycling, I don't know how your brother is. They define rapid cycling as 4 episodes during a year, about that. Well, my rapid cycling was probably a week of escalating mania. Like you, that euphoria, feeling like you can do anything, your productivity level, um, you know, being able to do 100 things, seeing all these magnificent possibilities, and no need for sleep, and that initial euphoria. Ooh. But anyway, I would go through about a week to maybe 10 days of mania. And then I would, oh my God, crash so deep. And the periods of depression would last, as much as 2 weeks. And then I would slowly escalate, and I would have about 3 or 4 days of what you might consider level or normal.
Mhm.
Then I'd shoot right back up into me. So I was constantly like that. He said I was, as I said, one of the worst cases. Um, but it took a lot of years, and I had a big role in it too. It took a lot of years to get to where I am now.
So my brother, I'm not sure of the exact time cycle. I just knew that he is more depressed than not. His depression lasts longer than others.
Yeah, mine too. Mine
And
too.
he but aside from the one time he was like the longest he was ever in the hospital was 28 days, I think it was. And
Hmm.
at the end of that, they tested all these different meds on it. They told him the same thing, that he was medication. There was unfixable.
Resistant.
Yeah, he was very much resistant. But they've eventually figured it out. But what he's discovered is finding a joy in life that is unparalleled. And he actually discovered that he loves diving. So,
Diving.
so
Scuba diving
yep,
or sky.
scuba diving. He used to love skydiving, but then he hurt his knee. He can't skydive anymore. But
Mhm.
scuba diving. So for the past 4 or 5 years, he's been a professional scuba instructor, and
Wow.
even lived in Hawaii for a while. And now he's down in the Keys. And he spends, I would say, 60% of his life in the
In the
water.
water.
In the water,
And he's doing well.
and that's the only time he does feel well.
Wow.
Whenever, like, I remember one year, a couple years back, he called me on my birthday, and it was like the worst birthday phone call I've ever gotten in my life. And I was like, dude, you are just. Why'd you even bother to call me? You're bringing me down today. It was like, hey brother,
Yeah,
just wanted
happy
to say I'm
birthday.
happy birthday. Um, I'm I'm
The
I'm
life
uh,
sucks.
I'm lucky I even remembered, so you should feel happy about that at least. I'm like, thanks, and he's like, okay, I gotta go. Bye. I'm like, that was the whole fucking conversation.
Well, that was
You could
nice.
have done that in text, motherfucker.
Yeah. Yeah.
um,
Neutral emotions
oh
in a
my God, but
text.
it's like, okay, I'm sympathetic for you, but come on, man, I feel your pain, but if I was that down, I would say, hey, I'm having a bad day today, but happy birthday, I'll call you tomorrow.
Okay,
You know,
yeah.
something.
Agree.
But no, it was like, I'm lucky I even remembered, so you should feel happy about that. Okay, I gotta go.
Yeah.
Bye. I didn't even. All I said was thank you. I didn't even get a chance to say goodbye because he hung up before I could even say goodbye.
Oh, gosh.
But I mean,
I'm sorry to hear
my
he's still
brother's,
having.
but he loves to joke about it as well. At
Yeah.
his own expense. He's very self-deprecating about it because he knows that in reality, a lot of his stuff that he goes through is really funny to look at from the outside. Because
Right.
even though he's struggling and it hurts mentally, and it's sad to watch. You know, some of the things that happens and he does is just it's really funny, and that's one of the things about mental illness that I love to point out that when you're able to finally, awaken yourself to realize that this is not who you are. It's just a part of your character. It's not a definition. It's just a part of it. And once you're
Thank
able
you
to
for
see
saying
that,
that.
it's just like any other personality flaw. Now, granted, this is a personality flaw that you need medication for and constant treatment for, but it's nonetheless any other personality flaw. In my own head, some people might look at it differently, and some people might come after me saying it's not a personality flaw. It's a personality flaw because we're depressed, and it affects the people around us, and that's part of our personality. That's my opinion. But once you're able to
I don't
see
know if
that
I believe. I don't know if I totally agree with that, Derek.
I know. Like I said, that's just me because the way I like to look at it is because when I'm able to see it as a personality flaw, it's easier for me to make fun of, which makes it easier for me to deal with. But if I look at it
I
as an illness within my brain that I can't control unless it's by medication, then that's like, okay, that's like making fun of a cancer patient. I don't want to do that. So I try to turn it into something else in order so I don't that makes it easier for me to make fun of. And I don't make other fun
right.
of other people, because of it. So I'll never make fun of you or anybody else for having, issues like that. It's just a thing between me and my brother. And I like to self-deprecate. So in order for me to be able to self-deprecate, I need to make it something that it's not in my own head. And I know it's not a personality flaw. And I know it's something that is medically induced. I know it's something that has to do with chemical imbalance.
Brain
There's
chemistry.
something else going on there, and I'm fully aware of that. However, in my head, it's like personality flaw equals funny. Let's make fun of it. But if I say
Oh
it's a
yeah,
medical
that's.
condition, if
I'm good at that.
yeah, if I'm saying medical condition, oh, I'm making fun of myself. That's not cool. Don't make fun of medical conditions, Derek. What's wrong with you? And then my bipolar brain's like, well, now you're just comparing yourself to cancer patients. You're gonna make fun of cancer patients too. So it's like
Well,
my weird brain has to justify the comedy in order to make it happen. Make it happen.
well,
So
comedy's great, and I believe in that too. I mean,
yeah,
I do have a genetic um, inherited you know, brain disorder, that I can't control, but I can't. I mean, I can. There are a lot of things that bipolar that can help bipolar that aren't medication. And I do agree with
correct.
you.
Yeah.
I'm very good at being self-deprecating and um, you know, finding humor and or black I call it black comedy
Oh,
sometimes.
definitely.
Yeah, one of my friends told me one time, he said, Sherry, you're the funniest girl you know.
Yeah.
That was I don't think that was a compliment, but there have been a lot of moments, especially, people's reactions or to it that I find them sort of funny, but then the flip side of that is the discrimination, the stigma, and people's avoidance of you because of your
Yeah.
illness. But
Yeah, and that's why I try to make it funny.
yeah,
Because if I feel if I can joke about it, I want my friends to know that it's important to me, but at the same time,
and
it's not something that controls me because if I was I
it's
wouldn't be yeah, so that's how I view it. But at the
it's
same time
healing.
I have things about my depression, not the manic part, but the depression that I just find hilarious, after the fact. Like
Right.
sitting right here right now, I'm having a normal day. I'm not having a manic day. I'm not, whatever normal is for me.
Yeah. Well,
Um,
whatever.
level day. But like yesterday I had a depressed day, but like today I'm having a level day. But like one of the things I like to do when I'm depressed is make myself more depressed.
Okay, explain that.
So I will
Oh.
deliberately turn on the saddest songs. I will deliberately put on the cheesiest, saddest television shows or movies that make me cry, just to cry.
Well, crying's cathartic. I mean,
Correct. So
I
I make myself more depressed, you know, intentionally in order to get myself to cry. And then once I cry, I start to feel a little bit better. And then then I start finding the laughter and things again. But I didn't do this to myself yesterday, but I've done this to myself countless other times. Make myself even more depressed to the point where I have to cry. That is like, for some reason, one of the things I do when I'm in my depressed states.
yeah,
And it's odd, it's
paradoxical.
weird. It's odd and weird, but damn it, it works.
No, and that's the thing. We're individuals, and how we react and deal with our mental health issues is very can be very personal. So, um, my problem is, and I'm doing great now. I mean, I am on medications that do allow me to live a normal life, and I use other methods that are helpful to me. But back when my bipolar was in, full devastating force, the first thing I withdrew from the world. My friends did not hear from me. I would sleep all the time. I wrote some of the darkest poetry and essays that, they were graphic. And, you know, I, I learned that I have to force myself to take action because depression feeds on itself. And, I spent a lot of time in a bed in a dark room, really physically paralyzed, mentally and physically paralyzed. So, you have to learn how, to do things like you're talking about, you crying, being able to cry. That was one thing. For years, I couldn't cry. I could, and I'm still, um, it takes a lot or something really poignant to bring tears. So, you know, you have to figure out what works for you and how you're going to handle it. So I'm doing much better these days, but I do find comedy in it. In fact, I, I really get angry with the media and how they portray mental health issues. I heard on one show, it pissed me off. They said, well, it was a police officer talking, and he said, well, she is on, you know, she is on uh, brain medications, or, it's like, oh, she can't be trusted. She's not credible because she's on that kind of medication. But then I heard this other thing, which said, oh, she was crazy, she had bipolar and she killed her husband. And I thought, I translated that into, oh, she had diabetes and she killed her husband. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I just thought that was so funny. You never hear somebody say, oh, she had lupus and she killed her husband. They insinuate that because you are do have a mental disorder, which 1 in 3 Americans have. So,
Yeah.
you sit down at a table, other people, may have some, 1 out of 3 is going to have some type of mental issue they're dealing with. So, um, anyway, I just, I do find opportunities to be, um, funny about it, especially now, because it does not cripple me. It does not paralyze me anymore. It does not drive me to, um, sort of let it suck me in and, you know, lose myself in the grasp of it. And that's a good thing.
And and sometimes that's all we can hope for too,
Yeah.
being able to just find that one thing in life, with having to deal with all this stuff that makes us gives us some type of relief.
Right.
And that sometimes is the hardest part. Especially for new people that are diagnosed and struggling, to find some type of happiness.
Yeah.
The thing about it is, you know, sometimes in life we have to be completely selfish. And that is sometimes it's a burden because for the longest time we're taught never to be selfish. We're supposed to be give give yourself to people, this and that. But there's times in life where you have to be selfish. Mental health is one of those things.
You have to
Um,
take care of
be-
yourself, and it's difficult when you're in those periods to even reach out to other people.
exactly
So I'm a
because
giving person, but back in the extremes of the disorder, I had nothing to give.
yeah, and you can't give anything until you find happiness within yourself,
Right.
because the only person in this world that controls your happiness is you. Whether not your partner, not your best friend, not your kids, nothing ever gives you happiness. The only thing that gives you happiness is your own body, yourself. What you accomplish and how you handle things. Your life is your happiness, and then once you're
Right.
able to realize that, then you can start giving back. But you have to be selfish first.
Right.
It's the same logic behind my view on relationships. You know, most people say, "Oh, my kids come first." I don't. My relationship comes first. My kids come after that. Because if
Yeah,
my
that's
relationship's not
true.
if my relationship's not strong, how can I be a good father?
Exactly.
But then at the same time,
That,
now their well-being in my life comes first. However, my relationship comes first above all else, but their well-being is not the same thing as like, the relationship. Um, but like at the same time, in 20 years when they're all out of the house and you find out you're bored with your partner because you haven't been able to connect with them in 20 years, divorce. As soon as you're an empty nester, you know, empty nest syndrome, divorce is a real thing too, because again, they put their kids before their relationship for so many years. Now they don't have a relationship once the kids move out. So it's the same logic that I have for relationships that I do with personality, happiness. So sometimes you have to be selfish in order to be able to survive and put forth the good vibes that you need to in this world. You Whether it's helping a friend, you have to be happy within yourself, and
exactly.
and raising your kids, you have to be happy in your relationship. So and happy with yourself. So these are all things that you cannot do unless you're happy with yourself, and
Right.
that's the most important thing. With, like, for example, with all this hate that I've been getting from the flat Earth community, you know, oh my God, I've laughed about it.
Yeah.
I
Oh,
really
I'm sure.
have,
I'm gonna read
because
it
it's
after
just,
we
oh,
get done.
the comments are redonkulous, like absolutely crazy. Some of these people are just insane. But the
Well,
thing about it,
yeah,
I'm
that
happy
doesn't.
I'm happy with myself. I know the good that I do. I know that in the 167 episodes that I've put out, now into the world, I've helped thousands
You've
of
done.
people. I
You've done
know
a
that
lot of good.
I know the 50,000 people on average are going to download that episode and listen to it on their drive to work, while they're mowing their lawn on their way home from work, or just chilling, reading the Sunday paper while they're listening to it. I don't know what they do with it. All I know is that they download it. But you know what? I help those people. So you know what? Just because I don't agree with flat Earth, and I might have been a little mean to the guest. Well, he was mean first, and I know that doesn't justify it. But damn it, I'm a comedian, and I have I get antagonized easily. But anyway, I know
Well,
that it doesn't. At the end of the day, I help people. So regardless of what other people view on me that don't agree with me, doesn't really matter.
that gives me the greatest joy is being able to give of myself to others, and that's sort of one of the um reasons I'm writing this book. So, but uh, if you aren't good within yourself, it's very hard to give to another. So, but I tell you, like I said, I listened to some of your podcasts and I saw the flat earthers, but I skipped over that one because I thought, but I can't wait to hear it now.
Now,
So your shows are great, Derek, and
I appreciate
I
that.
love the flow of them, and I love you know the information that comes out, and you're doing a great job. You're helping a lot of people, and you're giving a voice to advocates of mental health. I am a strong advocate for individuals, facing the challenges and the discrimination that often accompany, mental health disorders. So,
I appreciate
and I'm
that.
happy now. I mean, I'm happy. I'm living a very productive life. Hey, I just published a book. It took me 7 years to write it, but I just published a book. And if I was not right within myself, I don't think that ever would have happened.
And that's exactly the point. You just said it yourself. And that's the whole idea of this conversation and all the conversations I have. Be right with yourself, and you can be right with everybody else.
Yeah.
That's it. Um,
I'm able to give again,
mhm.
whether it's, um, you know, giving somebody a little something that brightens their day, or I think listening is one of the greatest gifts you give to another person. you know Being able to listen to them, because a lot of people aren't heard.
Yeah,
So I think that's something that you can give. And providing support when someone's going through a bad time, whether it's a serious illness or um, you know the loss of a loved one, or a multitude of things. If you can give support and maybe even help them, that to me is joyous. That to me, and you mentioned it earlier, and you know it's who I am. But to a degree, if you think about it, maybe it is a little selfish, because I get so much satisfaction out of it. I think it gives me, maybe more, you know, joy, than even the person I was able to help.
yeah, and and that's okay. I mean, it's okay to have that. I mean, because at the end of the day, as long as you're helping somebody else and you're making yourself feel good in the at the same time, what
Exactly.
does it matter if it's selfish or not? You're helping somebody.
It's healing.
It's healing for us, and that's
Yeah.
at the end of the day, that's all that matters. Um, Sheree, you are quite the individual, and I am so glad you contacted me to come on the show, because I have thoroughly enjoyed this conversation. You are just an amazing person, and
Thank you.
I cannot wait to read the book that you're writing. I want to now. I want to go and pick up the book that you just put out. So
I'll send you a copy. Just send me your address and I'll send you a
I
copy.
appreciate that.
I'll even sign it.
Woo! I appreciate that. Yeah. So I'll do that. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. But the link to Sherry's book is going to be in the bio of this video and the podcast, and all of Sherry's information will be there as well. But Sherry,
Yeah.
you are an absolute sweetheart, and I appreciate you coming on here today.
This was so much fun. There is a lot of other aspects to this to talk about, and maybe sometime we can talk again. This has just been a lot of fun,
Oh, absolutely. This is just
and just
one
keep
piece of
up
the
the good
puzzle.
work, Derek. Keep up the good work, Derek.
Absolutely. No, I'll definitely have you back again, because I know there's more pieces of this puzzle, and we've only touched on the surface. So
Exactly.
I
But it's
definitely want
been
to have you
fun.
back. Oh no, I definitely want to have you back. Unfortunately, if we went the full time here, we have like a 5 hour conversation.
I know. I know. I
So,
feel like I could talk to you all
oh,
day.
I feel like I know I can
Just
too.
not even about mental health, but about a lot of things.
Exactly.
So
But yeah, like again, we
yeah,
could have,
you're
yes,
great.
I definitely want to have you back again. So you'll definitely hear from me
Thank
in the
you.
future. But thank you so much, Sherry. You are amazing.
Yeah. Thank you. I think you're amazing too.
Thank you. And for everybody else, thank you so much for joining us on this conversation. I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day. Stay happy, stay healthy, and as always, stay heavy. We'll see you guys later. Peace.